let's talk about the spiral of knowledge and mental health, and this is for highly intelligent or gifted person. This is mental health for highly intelligent persons. Okay, so there are 8 knowledge or core intelligences based on Gardner. We have the logical or mathematical intelligence, which is math, and that manifests in school. It's common for scientists and mathematicians, and then we have the spatial intelligence. That's the intelligence on space. You can visualize and manipulate space, which is seen in architect and engineers and 3D artists like that. So you can do space, right? Or you have knowledge of maps, for example. And then we have musical intelligence. Well, it's musical, so you can compose, appreciate musical patterns, so you can, yeah, basically do music. Or DJs, musicians, writers, songwriters, and things like that. And then we have the body kinesthetics. These are for the athletes and dancer who can like dance like it's nothing. It's just, to them it's like a play. And then yeah, for athletes as well. Uh, this is, they can maximize the use of their body. So bodily kinesthetics or body smart. And then we have interpersonal. You have the people smart, so you can uh, make people listen to you, teach, um, and then heal everybody. And then you have interpersonal skill when you're a leader. For example, people follow you. You have self-smart. Interpersonal is knowledge about yourself, understanding oneself, which is often found in philosophers and psychologists. And then you have natural intelligence, so you can classify elements of natural world, and like botanists, farmers, and environmentalists. And then linguistic intelligence, that you can speak very, very fast, and then your sensitivity to, you have sensitivity to speak and spoken and written language, so you can talk very fast. That's the manifestation of it. It's found in poets, writers, and speakers. And then we have four more. For the extension of that, we have the existential intelligence, which you tend to seek the sacred in every question, and decoding the cosmos through ethical wonder and spiritual depth. Of course, the priest and stuff like that. So they can answer existential question. Then also from them is moral intelligence, so it can anchor action in integrity, translating empathy into justice and stewardship. So you have moral intelligence, you have the moral compass. Collective intelligence is that you have all of that, and, and your intelligence mimic an intelligence of the group. So you could probably you have an intelligence, you can do the work of 10 person, like in the office. Or you have intelligence of the sector. This is the entire sector will think like this, and then I can also think what the sector will think after that. Or you have multi-sectoral intelligence as well, so that's called collective intelligence. So yeah, you could possibly tell something's going wrong, something is happening that would affect the large number of people. That's also collective intelligence. And then you have the meta intelligence, which is the intelligence on your intelligence, so which you can regulate or control your intelligence. I don't want to think, I want to shut this part of my brain, like program my brain like you program a computer. I don't want to think about you, shut this down. And yeah, sometimes you can just shut off the brain, some sector of the brain, and it's gone. It's called meta intelligence. That's a very important skill that you need to learn in the future, especially if you have high intelligence. Now, I have one story where the are both cum laude, but their children aren't academically intelligent, they don't have honor in class. So basically, yes, you still have the gift, but it would manifest like probably into music or spatial intelligence, which is not manifested when you are in school. But you still have the gift. So most probably, if your intelligence is inherited, so you might have the gift, but it manifests in some other forms, right? And in the principle of multiple intelligence, you can have as many of this. Familiar with that? That's a pro-mill kid. In the 90s, so we have the pro-mill kid, right? That's the multi intelligence. Okay, so let's talk about how the brain uses your energy. So the brain is 2% of your body, but it uses 20% of the body's energy. It uses the energy for neural signaling, synaptic plasticity, that's rewiring the connection for learning and memory, and then glucose metabolism. So brain cell relies heavily on glucose for intelligent activity spike demand. So pure stress, you would need glucose or sugar, right? That's why you do sugar rush. And this is where the brain uses the 20%, so neural efficiency and neural intensity. So usually your brain work more efficient than normal people. The efficiency of your brain is higher than normal people. So, and but despite that, you the myelination, it would signal the body to the neurons very quickly. And neurochemical regulation is you uh, regulate dopamine, serotonin, and modulate attention. This is for your meta intelligence. So your brain uses the energy for this. And DMN, so imagination, introspection, self-awareness. It's the DMN uses that. And you also need for cognitive load management, you still need that for your meta intelligence to help regulate cognitive load and deciding which one I would want to think. That's meta intelligence. So your brain uses that. Okay. Now, if your body, the more, even if your brain work more efficient than other brain, the tendency is that it will need more energy, right? So, especially glucose and yeah, it the more cognitively gifted or engaged you are, the more your brain demands energy to fuel complex process like reasoning, memory, emotional regulation, and adaptive learning. So what's happening beneath the surface? Yeah, all it uses all that for this purpose. 20% or even higher if you're under stress. Now, if you do not supply your brain with enough energy, you will have these symptoms. So you will have cognitive fatigue and brain fog. So gifted individual often process information rapidly and intensively. And without sufficient energy, this leads to mental exhaustion, slower thinking, and difficulty on concentrating. So even if you're bright, if you don't supply your brains with energy, um, you will have slower thinking and difficulty concentrating. Then you have emotional dysregulation, so high sensitivity, emotional intensity are common in gifted brain. Energy deficits can impair neurotransmitter balance like dopamine and serotonin, resulting in mood swing, irritability, and anxiety. So, if you are so gifted but you don't supply your brain with the right energy, the right level of energy, you will manifest those those behavior. So you will have also executive dysfunction, so responsible for planning and decision making. You will make poor judgment. You will struggle with organization, impulse control, and time management. So that's common to me. Time management. And then you have sensory overload and shutdown. So gifted brains, heightened sensory processing without adequate energy. This could lead to sensory overwhelm, withdrawal, or shutdown behavior. Then you will also mimic ADHD, depression, anxiety, leading to misdiagnosis if the root cause of energy imbalance isn't addressed. So again, make sure you supply your brain with the right amount of energy. So why do gifted people use or might why gifted people are risky to addiction on alcohol and drugs? So gifted brains crave stimulation, so high intellectual emotional processing demands can lead to behavior that mimic hyperactivity, impulsivity, or risk-seeking traits often associated with addiction. So you might misread your intelligence, and you instead go to that hyperactivity, to go to that risky activity instead. Um, like you need the brain to be stimulated. You need the brain to work. You need the brain to think something. And without activity that could you could outlet uh, that demand, and you might go to addiction. And then self-regulation strategies may be misunderstood. So gifted individuals may use caffeine, sugar, intense exercise, or even risky behavior to manage energy dips or emotional overload. This coping mechanism can be mistaken for substance dependence. So yeah, I'm aware of this because I usually use energy drink as as a coping mechanism, but I know it's dangerous. So uh, hopefully it didn't put me in danger for 32 years now. So um, you might misread that as a substance abuse. So instead of, well, it's safer than alcohol and drugs, so energy drink. But there are more safer like food and natural food, or the grinded food, which is you can absorb more energy much faster, just like the energy drink. So blended, right? The blended fruits, for example. And then emotional intensity and existential angst. So deep emotional processing and existential questioning may lead to escapism or self-medication, especially if their giftedness is unrecognized or unsupported. So without your self-knowledge or self-awareness, the gifted spiral risk collapsing into confusion, misdiagnosis, or addiction masquerading as regulation. So if you're not aware that if you are a genius, you might, go to self-medication. So you would consume um, prohibited drugs, for example, and escape. And then social isolation and masking. So gifted individuals often feel misunderstood, which can result in withdrawal or experimentation with substances, not out of rebellion, but as a desperate attempt to regulate or connect. So for me, it's food. So just buy pizza and then have a pizza party. um, so others may go out and drink and socialize, right? Just to be accepted, you treat people. Or just to be accepted, you go on a drinking spree. But for me, the alcohol is very painful in my brains. That's why I don't drink. Um, so the deep in energy could lead to misdiagnosis. So you could be misdiagnosed with a lot of mental health issue, ADHD, why it happens, why energy, distractibility, rapid thought flow, and then yeah, curiosity and divergent thinking, boredom with the repetition. So bipolar, OCD, autism, oppositional defiant disorder, depression and anxiety, and schizophrenia. So this will manifest if you don't have those enough energy in your brains also. But this, well, that's number one, why it would manifest. Number two is that your brain's so busy already, so you might be so insensitive, for example, to other people because you're thinking something. Your ears will be sensitive to sound, um, to noise and things like that because you're thinking something and your brain's being distracted by external noise. That's very common to me. um and yeah, those are the misdiagnoses that you could have. And then these are the people who were misdiagnosed. So Abraham Lincoln, for melancholy or depression. We have Vincent van Gogh for epilepsy, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorder. You have Emily Dickinson, depression and anxiety. You have Isaac Newton, who's misdiagnosed for autism, bipolar disorder, and yeah, those are the reason. And Virginia Woolf, Nikola Tesla with OCD and schizophrenia, and John Nosh. So those people has been misdiagnosed, and let's not go far. Somebody like my previous lecture, it's Magnus. So he denied that he has mental health issue. Uh, he could research that, and that's because the chess is very, um, you know, you know 70 moves per minute. That's a lot for brain process, right? And the emotions that, and another thing, if you're a gifted person, and I when I was young, I was a consistent honor student. I'm not used to failure, right? I go to school, I don't write anything, just be noisy at the classroom, and then at the end of the day we'll have a test and perfect exam. So for my elementary years, I'm not used to failing, right? And if you're not used to failing, it's very difficult to your brains to process. Very difficult uh, to process in your brain's failure because you're not used to it. So that's a key takeaway. Be able to process failure, right? Use your meta intelligence. I will talk about meta intelligence later. So these are the traits that could be misdiagnosed from Magnus. So yeah, I was misdiagnosed with autism. I think and ADHD. But yeah, he denied that he has mental illness or mental health condition. Okay, what to do if you're highly intelligent? So number one is to know your meta intelligence. So you need to know that you're intelligent. You need to be aware that you're intelligent, and you need to regulate and control intelligence. And for example, if you have what do you call this, connection or unwanted connection, soul connection, for example, which are those are difficult to manage. You should be able to control your brain to shut those connections out of my brain and kill it from my thinking. So that's called meta intelligence. You should be able to um, I only want to think these things, and you should be able to shut down those intelligence. But that's that's also difficult because it would also shut down some intelligence that's related to it. But the ability to control and filter those noise in your brain is very important, especially if you're high intelligent, because those signals or those connections coming from external intelligent person, for example, it's going to be fatal in your brain. And then you have to avoid drugs and alcohol. It's very important that you avoid drugs and alcohol, because if you're using alcohol and you're using drug, you shut down your meta intelligence and you cannot control your brain, and you are not aware that you are, for example, you have you you don't have water in your body, but you're high on alcohol. You would not be aware of the signals that your body is going to give, right? The body should be able to signal you if you're thirsty, for example, you are dehydrated, or there is no oxygen in your brain. It would uh, it it's going to cause headache. But when you're on drugs or on alcohol, you're not going to feel it, and you are not even going to feel that, for example, your liver is firing up, and you're going to die for that. And number three, you need to inform your clinicians that you are a gifted people, know your multiple intelligence. I'm not intelligent in my academic, but I'm intelligent in music, I'm intelligent in art, and I'm intelligent in linguistic. For example, I also have group intelligence, I have collective intelligence, I have meta intelligence, and all intelligence I have in my hand. And you should be able to inform your clinicians about those gifts that you have. And number four, you need to use the natural regulation tools like meditation, grounding, for example, the ice cubes, and the hydration, nutrients rich food. Use the blended foods, because it's blended. It's already broken to small pieces, and then your body can absorb that very quickly, and then manage your energy dips, emotional storm, and yeah, that would help you to manage your energy dips, emotional storm, and sensory overloads. And then develop your gifts with control and stewardship. So refine your brilliance through curriculum, advocacy, and ethical guardianship. Channel your intensity into legacy building, not chaos. So very important that you have to recognize your gift. My gift is music. I can develop these gifts, or I have gift on art. I can develop my art gifts. And just make sure that that will use energy, and you should be aware that developing your gifts requires energy, and make sure you're hydrated. For example, you have sufficient nutrients in your body, so your brain doesn't go out of nutrients or air, for example. And then honor your emotional pacing. This is just telling you that it takes time to learn, and don't move faster than emotional integration, or keep that open, move faster than emotional integration. Give yourself time to process, reflect, ritualize insight without rushing. So do not memorize the value of pi, for example, in one day. So just, yeah, I can do that, but no rush. I can do that in 2 days, 3 days, not important anyway. Anyway, that could be used to measure your intelligence, but I'll tell you later probably if there's some more session on this. And then protect your spiral from unresolved relational loops. So relational loops, um, you have this soul connection, and then eventually it becomes unwanted. You have to shut it down, set boundaries with compassion, and ritualize closure as curriculum clarity. Because if you have relational loop, it would be dangerous to your brains. So might as well set boundaries with compassion. And then these are basically called soul ties. So you're probably in the spiritual world, you were related somewhere else, and then you come in touch with each other. So that's some sort of emotional connection exists between you two, but sometimes it become unwanted, so you would want to shut it down. And then you need to track your energy use. Um, uh, Document flare up, hydration, sleep, and nutrition as milestones, and your body is part of your gifted system. So yeah, it's not just your brain, it's the entire body. It's where your nerves are, where the neurons are. It extends outside the brain. So the intelligence is not uh, rooted, or it's not seated on the brains alone. It's rest on your entire body to the neurons, right? And then decode your existential signal. Angst is existential angst is not a symptoms, it's a sacred prompt. So yeah, create curriculum modules that guide others, so help others and navigate their gifts, navigate amplify their gifts, and know that gifted 16% of the population are gifted actually. So and these are usually being misdiagnosed because there's no um it's just it was taken away from the diagnosis. So it's very important to make sure that you share. For example, one of my friends shared to me about the natural use of um, the natural regulation. It comes from a friend that just talked to me a few days ago regarding the part 6 of this tutorial. And yeah, she gave me those tips that you could use. We have mental health, but we use the natural process. And and yeah, I told her about these are your intelligence and things like that. So if you can share your stories of giftedness to others who are having difficulty, that would be a lot better. And then surround yourself with guardians, not fixers. That's related to number nine. So choose a relationship that checksums your transmission, protect your spiral, and honor your intensity without trying to fix it. Um, yeah, case study. These are the commonly asked question. So we have case study, high IQ and mental illness, the misdiagnosis loop. It's by Neurolaunch. Investigate how sensory sensitivity and existential angst in high IQ individual are pathologized. And then gifted children misdiagnosed is a clinical perspective by Grayson School. And then you have misdiagnosis of gifted children with emotional dip mistaken for disorder by Davenport. And then you have two cases, study of gifted underachievement in creative writing by Australian student. I'm going to put that case study in the link below. Um, Hopefully when I construct it. And then that's all for now. And I'm Joey. So I'm from Aware IT. We do actually teaching technology, but we feel responsible about this mental health right now, especially that we have the AI within our side, which is actually we have the AI in our sector, so we could make use of that, and we can make triage or find something that's missing in the spectrum of mental health activity that's being done by other sectors. So yeah, if you learn something about this, you can please feel free to donate or PayPal or Gcash. And that's all for now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on more mental health lecture probably. But yeah, my specialty is actually IT and chess and a lot. I have multiple intelligence myself, so um, yeah, and I'm often misunderstood actually. And that's all, and thank you for watching.